The discussion was provoked when someone said they didn't like X-Men 97. Their reasoning? It was woke garbage for rainbow crybabies. A number of other users replied with, "It's not woke," or "X-Men was always woke," or "Why is it so bad being woke?" They all agree that this person was wrong and that their claim was bad faith, but their reasons were all different. They couldn't agree on what woke meant. How can such a simple four-letter word cause so much controversy, confusion, and even hate? I might as well rip off the band-aid now. There is no one definition of the term woke. But I have simplified it. I've narrowed it down to the four, mainly three, most likely explanations. Originally, woke was a slang term that meant to be aware of social injustices. Whether or not it still means that is debatable. The centrists will have you believe that woke is a nonsense term thrown around simply when someone doesn't like something. This is an understandable viewpoint, but it negates any consistency to what is labeled woke, which I disagree with. By the way, I hate all centrists and think they should die. Some leftists argue that woke just means anything that's at all left-leaning. Again, an understandable viewpoint, but ultimately feels like a generalization, so I disagree with it. By the way, I hate all leftists and think they should die. And finally, we have the right-wingers. They will argue that woke just means forced left-wing politics. There's nothing wrong with diversity or progressiveness, it's just done poorly, forced into places it doesn't belong. And here's the thing, I actually kind of agree with them. Now, don't get me wrong, I still hate all right-wingers and think they should die. I know that might seem surprising. I agree with the idea of it, but I don't necessarily agree with the people behind it. To illustrate what I mean, I have a friend I'd like you all to meet. Cheesecake, would you care to introduce yourself? Hello there, Cheesecake here. I'm the one who makes all the stop motions. I know technically Ratwurst animates them, I more write and produce them at Cheesecake. Get on with it. Right. Uh, So I am a big fan of Golden Age Captain America. It's fun, it's campy, it's wild and ridiculous, and it has really amazing artwork by Jack Kirby. However, they're pretty racist. Like, I can't even sugarcoat that. I was gonna put an image, but like, do I really need to? Like, I'm not really comfortable showing that. And like, we all know that 40s Captain America is racist. Like, no one's denying that, right? It was deemed acceptable back then, but like, yeah, society changes. It happens. It's part of history. And this isn't about separating the art from the artist, it's more about separating the art from the art itself. Sure, it was anti Nazi propaganda, it was also anti black people propaganda, and anti Asian people propaganda, and anti woman propaganda, some of them more intentional than others, but still. I'd much rather admit that I like classic Captain America, despite its racism, than just pretend it was never racist at all. And if I can like something I disagree with, I sure as hell can dislike something I do agree with. Have you ever been in driver's ed class and that teacher just randomly puts on a seatbelt PSA about some kid crashing their car and dying? You know, obviously, you're supposed to wear your seatbelt. No one's saying you shouldn't, but you just find it kind of annoying that the teacher tried to shove it down your throat like that, and almost makes you want to not do it just because they told you to. You agree that yes, wearing a seatbelt is important, you just don't like how forced the message felt. Thank you, Cheesecake. That will be all. Oh, cool. Thanks for having me on, Alex. You haven't seen my Men at Work CD, have you? Because I can't find it. I said that will be all. Right, right. Going back to the idea of forced left wing politics, what exactly does that look like? The boogeyman most would point to, the big D, diversity, or more specifically, forced diversity. Some of you may recall the TV series Queen Cleopatra, which was met with some criticism due to their casting of Cleopatra with a black woman. But the real world Cleopatra's time was so long ago we actually can't verify what her race was. But you know whose race we can verify? Marilyn Monroe. In 2022, there was a film about her life titled Blondie, and Marilyn herself was portrayed by Ana de Armas, a Cuban actress. I don't like this. It's in no way a critique of the film itself or of the actress's performance. I do not like the idea of someone of one race portraying a real world person who wasn't the same race. I feel similarly towards the 2016 film Gods of Egypt, which casted pretty much exclusively white actors as Egyptian gods. Even though I am not at all religious, I still think religious figures should be treated with the same care and respect as real-life historical figures. But can and should this same rule apply to fictional characters? Enter race swapping. You take a white character and simply swap out their race for something else, black, Asian, etc. Spider-Man is a character conceived in the early 60s, but nothing about his story was specific to that decade. He can exist and be adapted in any era, and so newer versions are going to more accurately reflect the modern day. But at the same time, race swapping can actually erase inclusivity. Why make The Little Mermaid black when you can make an actual movie about African mythology? Oh, but what about swapping out blacks for whites? They'd never let that happen. Yes, because Hollywood has notoriously had a shortage of white people in the last 80 years. And this doesn't mean you're not allowed to like White Black Panther, nor am I saying there shouldn't be white people in movies anymore. And then, of course, there's the age-old argument, why even race swap at all, and we can just make new characters that are minorities from the start. Now, aside from White Black Panther, all of these sides of the argument have validity in their own way. But let's not ignore the $58,000 CGI purple elephant in the room. But some people believe that there is a dark secret to diversity, that it's really an epidemic controlled by some hidden cabal that wants to shove as many minorities into as many things as possible. Why? Well, of course, to ruin our precious entertainment. Why else? But is that really true? Yes and no. For now, let's start with the part that isn't true. It's become a boy who cried wolf situation. Is it possible for a person to write some story that's racist towards white people and sexist towards men? Yes, absolutely. But is anything that at all addresses racism or sexism automatically that? No, but people have been conditioned to think that way. This is also where we see the term virtue signaling, which means to pretend to care about wider world issues without actually doing anything about them. Once again, virtue signaling is absolutely real. Someone can pretend to care about world issues just to seem more appealing. Does that mean everyone who has ever tried to address a real world problem is a bad person? No, not at all. Is forced diversity real? Yes, I mean, like, fucking obviously, of course it's real. Two of the biggest companies criticized for this sort of thing are Disney and Netflix. Disney and Netflix are run by elderly white men that only care about money. Of course, they're going to make things with lots of minorities in them. They want to appeal to every demographic. That is their bottom line. And I must reiterate, this does not mean any project that features non-white people is some weird propaganda to brainwash you. Though, if you want to get technical with it, everything already is kind of propaganda. But wait, if forced diversity is real, then does that mean the right-wingers were right? Of course not. These channels will relentlessly ram it down your throat how awful modern Hollywood has become. Modern Hollywood, slop, CGI, corporations stepping on beloved characters, reviving dead franchises, shoving diversity where it doesn't belong. Then where does it belong? If modern cinema is so lazy and so corporate and soulless and cash grab, why haven't you abandoned it already? They always say, we don't dislike diversity, just the forced one. Sarah Connor from Terminator, Ripley from Alien. Alright then, you know how many people out there are so talented and so amazing? They have more creativity in one skin cell than an entire boardroom. And you know how many of them are minorities? Why? Why, if they hate the capitalistic entertainment machine so damn much, why haven't they rejected it? There is so much real artistry around us all the time. It's right there. What are they waiting for? Oh, who am I kidding? We all know why they won't ever do that. What's that they always say? Modern movies, modern Hollywood, modern cinemas, that's the problem. It's all starting to make sense now. The nostalgia fetish. Things were better when I was a kid because I was a kid. Grow the fuck up. People like that, they don't want quality, they don't want to be challenged, they just want their bosom of comfort. And they don't want diversity either. This reminds me of a story. I used to not understand non binary people, and I really still don't. I understood gay people, homosexuality, but deciding you just didn't have a gender, that you could have a third pronoun, it just didn't make sense to me. There was already a narrative that gay people didn't exist. It was a choice, a performance. And I, to be completely honest, somewhat believed this at the time. And I hated non binary people because they only perpetuated that myth. But I never wanted to voice this issue. I was scared to. Not because some blue-haired feminist would walk in and start shouting and saying, "How dare you assume my gender?" No, I was scared that someone would agree with me. They would say, "Oh, I know exactly what you mean. All those they, thems brainwashing our children, wanting their pronouns." And I didn't think that way. Even if that person didn't say it, I could still tell. Maybe it was the way they spoke, the way they looked at me, the way they moved. I still knew that they didn't just hate non binary people like I did, they hated all of them. And that's what I didn't agree with. When I say I'm scared they'll agree with me, I really mean I'm scared they'll assume they know what I think and what I believe. And no one knows that. In the following years, I would actually meet and interact with non binary people. This, however, did not change my view of them. What actually changed my view of them was hearing one too many "I identify as an attack helicopter" jokes. I still don't entirely understand the non-binary community, but I definitely feel a lot less animosity towards them than I used to. You can like something without entirely agreeing with it, and you can dislike something without wanting to destroy it with every fiber of your being. But some things, just some things, you cannot give a shit about. So to answer the proposed question at the start of this video, is X-Man 97 woke? Well, depends on how you look at it. The X-Men were conceived as a metaphor for racial inequality. You could view that as woke. Newer X-Men stories, not necessarily 97, but still, often try to make the X-Men a metaphor for queer identity. And like I said before, there is the myth that gay people don't actually exist, so some might see the racial metaphor as appropriate, while the queer metaphor is woke. But the original X-Men lineup was all white people, so some don't view it as a metaphor at all. They just see it as some fictional struggle and therefore not woke. Or maybe there could be an X-Men story that's very diverse and very gay and all that stuff, but it's all done well. It's not forced. It's not annoying about it. It all feels natural and organic, and it can still be deemed not woke simply because it's done well. Unfortunately, there is no real way to determine what woke means in the modern landscape, but I don't think that really matters. What matters isn't the word itself, it's the context behind it. What people are using it and why. What message are they trying to spread, no matter what side of the political spectrum. If you're interested in learning more and want channels that are more professional than I am, I recommend Racism in Anime by 3Cage Summit, Why You Don't Want Representation by Nezu, Why I Stopped Being Anti-Woke by Dark Matter 2525, and the Exposing the Grift series by 3Birdman. Some amazing videos by some amazing creators. Now, this video in particular was mainly just meant to be a collection of every argument, but I did still go on a bit of a tangent towards the end. It's hard not to, but where do I fall on the political alignment? Well, that's a good question. You see, I'm... And like I keep saying, the new Doomtron reboot is terrible. Why does the protagonist always have to be a fat, black, gay, disabled, ambidextrous, heterochromic trans woman? Well, there is a customizable feature, so you don't have to make them look like that, and the protagonist is in armor the whole time, so you're not gonna see them anyway. But my point still stands. Why can't it be a guy? A big guy. A big, muscular guy. A big, muscular, veiny, sweaty, bulgy drinker. What is it, Ryan Kinnell of the Ryan Kinnell YouTube channel? Can't you see I'm busy? The boss wants to see you. Boss? Oh god, no, I'm so scared. I'm busy and shitting and coming myself right now. Pull yourself together, drinker. I can do this. What am I? A filthy double X chromosome haver? Ugh. You wanted to see me, boss? Drinky, drinky, drinky. I'm very disappointed in you, Drinky. Do you know why? Is it because I broke your Top Gun DVD? No! Actually, yes, I am still mad about that. And I am still waiting for you to buy me a new one. But that's not it! Look behind you. What the—
Oh! What the hell is that?
Statistics, William. You projected that the Doomtron reboot would fail.
Then how do you explain this?
I don't know, sir. I don't know, I swear, I don't know. The trailers and set photos looked so bad. I have no clue how it turned out to be such a smash hit. I know why, and I'll tell you. It's because those brain-dead, tree-hugging, hippie liberal commies will eat up anything with a fat, black, gay, disabled, ambidextrous, heterochromic trans woman in it! I don't know. I actually kind of like the main character. Oh, Drinker. Always the Joker, aren't you? No, I mean, really, it's not a joke. I actually really like the main character a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, she's actually realistic and well written. I mean, she reminds me a lot of Ripley from Alien and Sarah Connor from Terminator.
You what?
I'm sorry, sir. Truly, truly I am. I promise I'll never like a fat, black, gay, disabled, ambidextrous, heterochromic trans woman ever again!
That's your problem, critical snowflake. You think well-written female characters actually exist. I hate Ripley. I hate Sarah Connor.
I know what you are.
You're a liar, a coward, a feminist, an SJW,
But worst of all,
you're weak.
sorry I'm late, fellas. Traffic was just absolute murder. Now tell me, what was this meeting of the Daily Wire called for?
Everyone, I would like to hypothetically introduce you all to Daily Wire's newest hypothetical member, Brent Cooper.
Hey, I'm Brett Cooper. I pretend to be relatable and I have a really annoying voice.
With her, we can hypothetically end the indoctrination of our youth by hypothetically sending them messages to sway their thoughts and change their beliefs. Hypothetically, of course.
An excellent idea, Ben. Yes, perfect. Yes, I like 14-year-olds.
We